Hello everyone, and welcome to our weekly update during February. We're on a journey where we're learning about faith, hope and love. I believe this is something that God wants to form in us, especially during this time. And those words, faith, hope and love, come from, as we saw last week, come from 1 Corinthians 13. And I want to read these to you again. Paul is talking about having everything in, ministry-wise, doing everything well, but if we don't have love, then it's meaningless. But then he says this, he says that when I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror, then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. Now these three remain, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. This journey we're on, this faith, hope, and love journey, is a journey that God takes us all on. And last week I shared with you that during the initial part of our journey, there's this awareness of God. There's this awareness that somebody loves you, that somebody cares about you, somebody died for you. And then this awareness grows into a growth phase for you. You're learning to grow in God, you're excited about God. And soon you discover the giftedness He's given you, your unique talents, your unique contribution. And that's the third phase. We start to serve God and others, and we bring our giftedness. But invariably, in all of our walk with God, we come to this place where it's a space of what we call desolation, where it seems like we've run out of steam, we've run out of puff, where God's just not present, or it doesn't seem like He's as present as what He was initially. This is an important stage for all of us in our Christian walk. And it seems as if, certainly in the Western church, that this is a stage we're finding ourselves in right now. When the things that were good for us in the past, it was easy to follow God, there was a lot of energy around that, it's harder. And things have shifted. We're in this state of desolation, crisis. We have an option in this place of crisis or desolation. We have an option to, and this is the better option, to press through, and I'll explain that in a moment. Or if we decide, well, God's not quite involved with my life, I shouldn't really be as excited and committed to this as what I was, and perhaps my friends are thinking me strange, so you sort of step away. And it takes a while to become aware of God working in your life again. And so you go through that cycle again. Awareness, growth, contribution, and you get to the same place of desolation. Perhaps a few years later. How do you press through? How do we press through? And I want to talk about that today and next week. How do we press through this stage of desolation? Firstly, there's a point of surrender. Trusting God, even though life doesn't seem fair. Even though life is not quite working out as you thought it should. Perhaps your views on what a loving God should allow in your life have been a source of conflict for you. But the place of surrender, where we choose to trust God no matter what. You think life was always easy for Jesus? He also had a place of desolation when everybody rejected Him. They arrested Him, crucified Him. And even there He pressed through and He surrendered to the Father. He said, not my will, but yours be done. This moment of surrender is where hope comes in, where hope is birthed, where you begin to say, I don't quite see things clearly, but I will trust and hope. It's like this moment when a person high up on the trapeze, swinging from swing to swing, and as they get to the place where perhaps they're inverted and they need to do a somersault, and they're trusting the other swing is going to be there when they need to grab a hold of it, and they're in the air and not entirely sure the swing is there, but trusting it's going to be there so that they can catch it. Somebody called this a liminal space, the space in between. It's a place of surrender. It's a place of trust. I have on my desk in my office this little Clark, and in this translation it says, those who trust in the Lord will renew their strengths. This is from Isaiah 40 verse 31. NIV says, those who hope in the Lord will renew their strengths. This space of surrender. After that, we enter, as hope begins to grow, a place of what someone has called, and I like the word, they call it paradox. It's this place of trusting God, knowing God's there, even though life might not quite be working out as you'd planned it. But knowing that God is big enough, bold enough, strong enough, wise enough to be with you no matter what. In Psalm, just flick to the book of Psalms here, in Psalm 121, the psalm where people are traveling to Jerusalem, and this person is deliberately going to Jerusalem and is asking God to be with him, even though there are bandits on the way. And he says, I lift my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? He's looking up to the mountains and saying, there are bandits up there, or there are people up there that worship other gods. They've got their own agenda. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, he says, the maker of heaven and earth. I love what he says here, and this is born out of hope. He says, he will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. We all know if you go out in the sun and you stay there too long, you get sunburnt. This passage is not saying you'll never get sunburnt in your life. But what it is saying life will not so overcome you that you will be estranged from God, separated from God. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and evermore. May this psalm and the realization of the journey we're on form faith, hope, and love in us this year. And next week, as we journey into understanding what love looks like, I trust that this will encourage your faith, even right now in the space we find ourselves. God bless you. God be with you. God strengthen you. And God give you hope. Goodbye.